What up, peeps? It's your girl, Dash. Come back to Real Takes. Well, it's that time, guys. It's movie review time, and this will be for Creed 3, of course, starring and directed by Michael B. Jordan. Of course, we have Jonathan Majors, we have Tessa Thompson, just to name a few. I'm going to really, let me just put it, I'm just going to get into it. Okay, I'll probably just note this as a spoiler, whatever, and all that. Not really feel like I'm spoiling anything. If we all saw the trailer, we kind of have an idea of what's going on between the two, friends. And just a culminating of, okay, they had the fight. Who won the fight? I think a lot of us, 9 times out of 10, I'm not psychic, know who's going to end up probably most likely win that fight. So I don't feel like I'm taking anything away from that. But I really wanted to get into the overall storyline between the two, friends. And that's really what I was wanting to see throughout there. I know I'm going to get my fight sequences. I know they're going to be off, good, things of that nature. But I really wanted to understand, the story between the two friends. I in some ways feel like brothers at times within the film. Now, with that said, I like how we're coming full circle, honestly, with Adonis Creed. And I like it because when we first meet him, and when the movie came out, first one, 2015, rough around the edges, hot-head sorts and all that. And he did not know his father, Apollo Creed, and we get to see him find his way with the help as a mentor from Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone. And of course, we see him, doing his little fights and all that. And we get introduced, of course, who is now his wife, of course, Bianca, played by Tessa Thompson. And I just like how he slowly tries to find his way. Of course, when we get to, Creed 2, we see him being introduced to a boxer, unbeknownst to him, being at this past, with Balboa, with Ivan Drago, and of course we meet his son, Victor Drago, played by Florian Montoon. I really enjoyed Creed 2. Love me some Creed 2, and seeing what he went through, of course, with the fight, losing that, whatever, having to come back and prove himself and all that, and just it was a lot of unfinished business and story and things in regards to Balboa with Ivan, and then seeing, Adonis kind of come into his own and realizing, things, just are not always going to be where you think is. He's going to always win this fight, whatever, and all that. And I like that because that's what I really wanted to see when I saw that one. Now with this one, a little bit more of a layer because there's a lot of stuff that we really don't know, honestly, about Adonis. They don't flush him out per se in the other two so much. So definitely the second one. With the first one, a little bit, but not a lot. But this one, you get a little bit more background on certain events that happen when we get to introduce them. And I like the way Jordan directs this film in regards to the way it opens up, where we start to see, little flashbacks, visions of certain things that happen, of course, with them, together. Because with Damian, played by Jonathan Majors, he's an upcoming boxer. He's trying to prove his way and all. He's like, once I get here, of course, with Adonis, him being this little, bad guy, towel boy, and just, helping, cheering him on, whatever, and all that. They have things kind of squared of how they envision certain things going, them both, working together to get where they need to get so they can kind of get out of their area and all that. Mind you, things do transpire, we don't know from the way they show in the trailer, but then it becomes more evident as time goes on throughout this movie, more so what happened when you see the cops show up and you see hands go up and all that, and Damian ends up in jail, and he's in it for pretty much damn near 20 years. Now, I like how we do see the son with Adonis, Bianca, and their daughter, Amara. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. The little girl, and I wanted to write her name down because she's as cute as a button. Her name is Mila Davis Kent. That was Amara Creed. And I love how in Creed 2, when they have their baby and they start doing testing to see if she is like her mom, come to find out she is. And in this instance, them coming to terms with that, how things are going to change with them and how they go about, loving on their child, doing the things they need to do and all that, so the child can just feel like, the child. But in this instance, you have to, communication be a little bit different because she wanted to learn sign language. Of course, dad's wanted to learn, and of course, mommy. I like how I love his bond. You see throughout the film with the way they engage, and I love how you see that, them doing the sign language and all that. I love seeing that, and I love that engagement that they do show, because I kept wondering, even though we saw a little bit of these little moments with them, with their daughter, are we going to see a little bit more of her in this film? So I really will appreciate, and I kind of get into that a little bit later, but knowing that he is, building up some of his, boxers. We have one who's already a champion because now Adonis is retired. So we're dealing with the fact that he's just running, his, boxing place. He has his buddy Wood Harris, playing Little Duke in the film, right there beside him, all that, that good mentor as well with, getting the guys, the boxers right and all that, seeing who's going to be going up toe-to-toe with their guy. His name is Felix Chavez, and his real name, I want to get his real name correctly, Jose Benavides. Hope I'm saying the last name correctly. I really enjoy them showing him and also showing his mother, Selena's Leva, in this film, where to show the legacy of what Adonis is trying to leave and the legacy Felix and his mom is trying to, present for themselves and what they're trying to do with him and his career. So I really enjoyed that. Now, with that being said, we do get introduced to Damian, of course, in the trailer, how you see he's all up in car, in the car and all that. He's been out for like maybe a week, trying to kind of set himself up, trying to figure out what his next plan is. Because when they're young kids, they talked about that plan of what they want to do, with their lives. Of course, in boxing, of course, Adonis being right there along, whatever, before things popped off. As time goes on, as you see with him, with Damian, his character played by Jonathan, definitely some underlying little comments from time to time, when they're sitting, breaking bread, and there are moments where he's like, I'm out, I'm trying to do this, whatever, no, I'm not trying to wait. Now, mind you, when you're a boxer and all that, you work your way up. There's no way you come right into, doing, a championship boxing match and all that, and you end up getting the daggone, belt. It doesn't work like that. You have to prove your part, whatever. You haven't really been boxing. Yes, he's been behind, as they say, four walls and all that, keep himself fit, this, but he's much older now, and he's definitely older. They, of course, would prefer you to be, of course, younger coming into it, and you work your way up as you get older until, it's that time where, okay, I'm getting to this point, body's not doing what it needs to do, and it's time for retirement. Now, with this case, you can see he's hungry for it, of course, certain things happen where there was supposed to be a fight between Chavez and Drago, and certain things happen that change the shift of it, and they're trying to figure out who's going to fight, and you see how that culminates with all of a sudden, he's like, this one might know how you feel about it, because when they're doing sparring, Felix and Damian, they kind of have choice words and certain, blows, whatever, and all that. So when they decide to use, Damian takes this as this opportunity. I'm like, okay, I'm up in here. And he did. And now I'm going to tell you, when I'm talking about the fight sequences, they were good. I enjoyed it. I love the introduction with Chavez coming out, and also the one with Damian coming out. But I will say this, one thing I say about Jonathan Majors when he's in his portrayals of just movies, just in general, and even in some of his TV shows I've seen him when he was in Lovecraft Country, his face gives off so many emotions when you're seeing what he, knowing what he's been through and how he's, trying, to get to where he really wants to be, and where he felt like he was robbed of this opportunity because of those, the moment that changed his whole life with this incident that happened with him and Adonis. You can see in his face when he's walking down to the ring, and I caught that just in those moments there and other moments. Now, again, won that fight. Things kind of changed because now, he was like, I thought you were going to visit me, whatever, and all that. Certain words that came out prior to that fight. And then things are definitely revealed, when Adonis has a nice little conversation with his mother, Marianne, played by Felicia Rashad. And that's when certain things come out. And certain things are revealed and exposed where you see, you're feeling for Damian within this film at first. Because not to say you still can't. But then when there's layers of certain things that he's doing that's underhand. And it's like, okay, was this an agenda all along, whatever and all, when it's a confrontation that you see between Adonis and Damian. And then this culminates where, some choice words are said, a little shot here and there and all that, where Adonis needs to finally realize, from what, Little Duke said, whatever, you don't owe him anything. And I'm going to get into that at the end. Now, I will say, it's almost like he has to have a reflection point. You can see with Bianca trying to, break down that little wall with him because he's not telling him everything. He's not communicating. He's trying to keep other things himself, because when he eventually sees Damian sitting on his car, you see the way he kind of shifts up a little bit, changed up his demeanor and his body language and all that. You can tell it's some stuff that definitely was not dealt with, handled, whatever. And I like how more and more of what happened that night when he gets into it with Damian, now he has that ring, he has that belt, and a little bit of the arrogance kicks in. He goes back to the moment of what happened, of the location, and then more of the reveal of what really went down, where Damian pretty much, was stuck there with the cops, and Donna's rolled. He booked. Didn't visit, didn't write, whatever and all that. He, and he felt some kind of way. I can see that instance with that, and all that rage and anger is staying within four walls for those many years. Culminate, you come out, somebody can come out feeling slightly little unhinged and all that. Even in his fight sequences when he was up against Chavez and that actual boxing fight, and you could see, I love the technique with the fight sequences. I was here for them. I love how at times, even with Adonis's one, prior to him, retiring and all that, and we see them progressing the story, times going on, the slow motion in some of the scenes with the hits and jabs, I really was feeling that. I'm here for that. The way they did that choreography, just great work. Now, in the end, just to kind of push us back, whatever, we finally see them preparing for the fight. doing their thing with all that. I loved it. I love some of the banter with Harris's character coming for him, just run up hills, this and another, same thing. When you see, if anybody remembers some of the pictures that were posted on social media with Majors, out what looks like on the beach, whatever and all that, with the fitness, the trainers, all that, climbing up the ropes, whatever and all that, gets to all that in the theater during the scenes and all that. But once we get to the fight, that was a good fight. And I will tell you this. With that scene, there's a scene between Jordan and Majors where it's just them. I love the way Jordan directed, where you see they're in the middle of the fight with and all that, and you're wondering what round is on, whatever. You're seeing nobody's outside of the ring. You see no more people and all that, and they just kept showing lots of the different sequences. And I would love to know who trained Jonathan Majors with his ways of fighting within the ring, because it was just, the technique was just like, oh wow, with the way he just played off of when to hit, and then parts where he would hit certain parts, like maybe the arm or the shoulder, to weaken them so they couldn't get a jab. I was here for all of it. I love in the end when you could tell Creed had a moment and he roasted Cage. He was just like, okay, we had the last round, like, okay, come on now, you boxing, now it's time to fight. It's just like, let's move this along. And eventually something came over him, and come on now, y'all should know he was gonna win the fight. Not to say Michael B. Jordan wouldn't have made it happen like that, but come on now, he did all that with Drago. Drago got them like center person, so whatever. This one is gonna happen, and I like how at the end when you see having his his little moment, his flowers and all that with the but then he leaves, and I just love how he goes to visit, and he sits there, and he just says it flat out. He was like, I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I didn't see you. I didn't write. He says, that was on me. And then I like how Damian came back and he was like, you know what? No, it's not on you. He says, you know what? It really was probably never really, on you. Because to be honest with you, he made a decision to pull that gun out. And let's just be real. He did not. He could have came out and fought. We're not going to understand what and all. If they not went to the car, they would never know that. And having that on top of other priors, that's why he ended up in jail for as long as he was. But that part he definitely played. Could have handled it a whole different way, whatever, now, without using any type of firearm, whatever. I will say, like when little, Duke's talking about, you don't owe him anything. I said, the part he could have owed was checking in on his boy being locked up. That's the part of it. He didn't owe him anything when he got out. You have to do this. You don't have to do that. Offer him to come to box, spar, whatever, see how he can help him get back in it, whatever, so he can do what he should have done years ago. But I just like how they both took accountability for however they felt their part was and how things turned out in that, moment that changed both their lives pretty much. And it was nice. And they just had that moment, all that, and he's just like, just go back out there, your family waiting, all that. I loved it. I tell you, I did get emotional because you feel for both characters in this one. As much as I was not happy with how Damian was cutthroat with how he found his way to get to that championship fight against Chavez, but in the end, things came full circle, and his arrogance, it was just like out of control. Once he got that belt, it's like a real full shift. He was already talking smack a little bit and being frustrated because things weren't happening fast, but just the way he really got out there, whatever, and all, him and Adonis got into those choice words. But yes, but bringing back one last little thing in regards to his daughter, I just love how there's a scene with her having a little bully and how she dealt with it daddy style. And then this conversation that Bianca and Adonis have about her handling certain things and be controlling her and dealing with her emotions and all that, being because he had not been dealing with that, kind of balling things up, whatever, and all that, and thinking sometimes that, fighting, sometimes boxing or fighting, that can do this. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but it's like, no, you want to treat your daughter all other ways besides just fighting something or hitting someone to handle things. It's nothing saying she has to be friendly with this person, all be cordial and all that, but that doesn't take away from this little bully who did what they did in the end. But I just was like how she's like, you're not communicating, I'm not understanding what's going on with you saying that, but then she knows other things are going on since his friend turned up recently. So it's just a lot of that going on, and the communication, no discussion, not talking, and that plays a part in him finally speaking and telling her when certain events happen within their family, and he finally sits down and has a talk with Bianca and speaks his mind, and she speaks her mind about how she feels about things in her life and how her career has changed, and how she says she's grateful for what she has and had to make that choice to move past this and all that and do what I do with this way, and then continue on doing this and all, and living my life with my family. And the same thing goes for Adonis and him understanding from her point of view as well. It was just so refreshing seeing a little bit more layers on Adonis with that aspect of that, and him, yeah, like he said it, balling stuff up, wanting to forget about it. Doesn't always work though. You say, hence Damian showing up on your card. Sometimes things do show up. It might be years later, but it always shows up, especially if it's not being resolved. And I really was here for that. And just like I said, the dynamic with their family, seeing that dynamic between him and his, old friend from back in the day, and then seeing his arc with, boxing all together. Because in an instance, honestly, we're thinking, this being an arc about him boxing. Remember now, he's retired. So we're kind of getting a tiny arc, with Damian trying to come into his own with the boxing, all of it being there's all these other little things going on, behind the scenes with him and how things, turned out. We don't get to see it fully, whatever, because the way they're doing it, we only have, almost 2.5 hours. It's only so much they can do with the film. So with that part, with the pacing, it's like you had to be very quickly with certain parts in regards to that. But in the end, I truly enjoyed this film. Enjoyed that music. Again, I said I can't say enough about the fight sequences. It was nice seeing Florian Montoon as Drago again. I did enjoy seeing Wood Harris. I did love enjoying seeing the character Benavides, playing Felix Chavez. His mother, played by Salinas Leyva. All these other people, with the dynamics that brought to the film. I'm curious if he will do another one. The way this one was set up and the way it overall ended, they really don't have to. They could just leave it like this, and it could just be, book in 1 to 3, and that's it. Yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I'm thinking this could be the last one. I don't foresee, but somebody might comment and say, they could do this, you never know. I will say I like the fact that with Michael B. Jordan directing, I know it was produced by Coogler and Sylvester Stallone and written up by Coogler and his brother, if I'm not mistaken, Keen Coogler. Not familiar with him, but I said clearly moving forward. But it was just a nice, I have to say it because I'm going to give shout out. I'm going to give those flowers to Michael B. Jordan at the end of this, because I'm just so happy and proud of him, and I'm just here to support, somebody who's just their growth. Going from doing, and it's not to bash because I used to watch him soap operas. He did all my children back in the day, and has come so far. And now you're directing, and this can be the beginning of him being behind the camera as well from time to time. I know he has other movies in the bit that I'm looking forward to him doing, but just knowing this is his first, time behind the camera, I'm just amazed. I really enjoy this film, the flow of it, everything. I didn't really have a problem with really, honestly, anything. It's not like it's nothing truly to nitpick, honestly, on my end. Can't speak for everybody else. But yes, again, just I'm happy for him, and I'm just gonna wish him, the best moving forward, in Hollywood, because he's still on his way, so he's just beginning. Jonathan Majors, I can never say enough about him. He was amazing in this film. Like I said, all ranges of emotion, the way I love the chemistry between him and Michael B. Jordan within the film. Fight sequences with him were off the charts. I just can't say enough about that. Those two right there did the daggone thing with this film, and I'm just looking forward to both of them, continue doing the work with one another. They both say booked and busy, and I'm always here to support these gentlemen. So with that said, you guys, comment below. Let me know what you all think. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next review. You guys take care.